Okay, in this section what we're going to do is look at the different parts of a theme and what they do. Let's begin by looking at the output of a theme and work our way into the back end from there. So when you're looking at a page, you're looking at output that's generated through the theme layer. Now there's different sections on the page, and those different sections are called regions. Typically regions will fall into categories like header, footer, first column, second column, and main body content. More complex themes will add additional regions, for example subheader or subfooter, in order to allow more specific placement of blocks on a page. And that's really what regions are for. They expose areas on a page that can be manipulated through the user interface to, for example, add blocks to particular regions. Now the way that a theme tells the rest of Drupal that these regions exist is through a .info file. And a .info file is basically just a set of key value pairs where the key is a particular name of some type of variable and the value is the value of that. So for example, in the .info file, regions are defined as just simple line items, simple key value pairs that say, hey, there's this region named this, and this is the title of that region. The .info file does a couple other things too, including allowing the theme to set particular CSS files or JavaScript files that should be included with the theme on every page. Now a theme could also add CSS and JavaScript files through the template files that it takes care of. For example, the page.tpl.php file, which takes care of wrapping the HTML body and HTML tags around all of the content. But by putting it in the .info file, it allows sub-themes and other types of overrides to those files so that the entire page.tpl.php file doesn't have to be overridden. Instead, an edit can be made before the JavaScript or CSS files are added to the page to remove one of those items or add a new item to it. A theme folder also includes any template file or theme function overrides that exist in the theme layer. So for example, if we want to override the output of all nodes on our site, we could create a new node.tpl.php file anywhere inside of our theme structure. If we wanted to override a theme function, we would use a special file that's included in a theme folder called template.php. The template.php file is where all of the logic goes, all of the code that's not just embedded inside of a template file. For example, any pre-processing functions that take care of manipulating the output or doing some sanitization before it gets sent to a template file, all of those live inside of the template file, template.php file. And any additional utility functions that are used on the theming layer can be added to that file as well. Typically, a theme will have some image resources associated with it. For example, the default logo or a background gradient. Except for the logo file, which belongs in the base of the theme directory, these images should live inside of the theme folder, typically within a subfolder called images. And the reason why it's there instead of some other place in Drupal is that as you start to manage a Drupal site, you want all of the resources that are associated with your theme in one location. It makes it easier for themers, for example, to know where to look for the resources, and it also makes several different types of workflows that you can use to manage and upgrade a Drupal site easier. Just like with modules, themes typically have a readme.txt file, readme.txt file, which includes some basic instructions on how to use the theme, how to install a sub-theme, for example, anything that is specific to the theme and not to themes in general that would help somebody get started with it. There are some basic settings added to a theme by default, like the ability to upload a new logo or favicon to a particular theme. But if a theme wants to extend these settings, they can add a theme-settings.php file, which will include a hook function that allows them to add additional settings to the theme settings form. And finally, If you want to include a screenshot of your theme for use in the Themes Management page, then you can create a screenshot.png file and add it to your themes directory in the base of your theme. And if you resize it to 294 pixels wide by 219 pixels tall, then that's the native size that's used for the large preview inside of the themes. For the small preview, that same image is just resized down to 144 pixels tall and 194 wide. Okay, let's go ahead and do a quick recap of the various theme components that we talked about. First of all, we have our .info file, which takes care of interfacing our theme with the rest of Drupal. And inside of it, we define our regions, and we can also include CSS and JavaScript files. We have our template.php file, which contains any logic that's going to be used inside of our theme, including pre-processing functions and theme function overrides. And then if we're overriding template files, we also include our template files in our theme directory. If our theme has image resources, typically those images will belong inside of a directory called images, except for two. One is the logo file, which is the logo to the site that can be overridden through theme settings, and the other is the screenshot.php file, which represents a visual screenshot of our theme when it's rendered. A theme can include a theme-settings.php file to add additional settings to the theme settings form. And finally, a theme will typically have a readme.txt file with basic instructions on getting started.